What we're going to be doing today is continuing along our series, which is how to conquer your fear of public speaking and captivate your audience with confidence. And I know there's some people actually that are missing who have been following me because I had to change my Periscope handle. But I will be recording this and I will be putting this on YouTube. So why don't we get right into it. What I'm going to do for those of you that are watching me and listening to me for the first time is just do a very brief review of what we discussed. And what we've been talking about are those two core reasons why many people have this fear of public speaking. Where does it come from? Why are people afraid? And this is very, very important if you think about it. If you're working and you have to do presentations at work and you're not able to do it, that can affect your performance, that can affect your reputation, that can affect your career opportunities. Some people actually they redirect their entire careers because they have this fear of public speaking. So where does it come from? Well, in the last couple of scopes, we talked about a couple of sources of this fear of public speaking. One of those sources has to do with negative anticipation. Negative anticipation, right? So that is where a person is thinking about and they're worrying about their upcoming presentation. So as soon as you know that you have to present, you begin to think about it. And therefore, you begin to anticipate the presentation. So it's a matter of how you're anticipating, not whether or not you're going to anticipate it. It's how you are thinking about, how you are anticipating that upcoming presentation. Does this make sense? So what many people do is they begin to worry about it. They begin to think about, well, man, the last time I did that, I messed up, or I hope I don't mess up this time. So they begin to anticipate it negatively. And it is that anticipation, that negative anticipation, that actually brings about the very thing that you don't want, and that is messing up, freezing up, going blank in your live presentation. We talked about a specific strategy that you could use to prevent yourself from negatively anticipating that, and I'm going to invite you to go ahead and watch that previous broadcast, and I will post a link and I'll give you a website to do that. In fact, if you go to YouTube and type in Michael Williams Periscope, you'll find that particular video. We also mentioned a second source, which we're going to get into today. And that second source is this. It is preoccupation. When a person is preoccupied, right? When they're preoccupied with a couple of different things, this can interfere with your presentations, with your live presentations. So when you are preoccupied with things that you shouldn't be thinking about, it can cause you to go blank, to lose track of what you're saying, and so forth and so on. Now, watch this. Listen to this. What are the things that you can become preoccupied with that can distract you and cause you to mess up in your presentation? So we're talking about leading up to your presentations, and while you're actually presenting, you can become preoccupied. So one of the first things that we want to do is simply define what we mean by being preoccupied or preoccupation. Then we'll talk about a couple of things that people preoccupy themselves with. What we mean by being preoccupied is your mind, your thoughts, contain and are distracted by thoughts, right? Thoughts that should not be there. So when your mind, when your thoughts, when you're thinking, is occupied by content that distracts you, you're preoccupied. You're preoccupied, okay? So it has to do with being distracted from the present moment, from what you're actually doing. So as I'm presenting to you now, as I'm speaking to you now, if I allowed my mind to drift and think about, well, I wonder what the audience thinks of me, I hope I don't mess up, well, I wonder what I have to do next, then I would be preoccupied. That is, I would be allowing my mind and my thoughts to contain thoughts that would be distracting me from this present moment, from what I'm doing right now. So that's what we mean when we say preoccupied or preoccupation. So when you're presenting, if you become preoccupied, then it can, what? It can distract you, and it can cause you to mess up. It can cause you to become very anxious. So what are a couple of the things that people can become preoccupied with? Well, let's talk about them. One, a person can become preoccupied with, now listen, the judgment of others. And this is a big one. This is probably the main one. When people begin to think about what other people are thinking of them, they become distracted. They become more anxious. So an example is, I'm standing up, you're presenting, and you start thinking about, oh, that person's looking at their phone. They must not like what I'm saying. They must not be paying attention. I wonder why they're not paying attention. Am I not making any sense? Or I wonder what people are thinking about what I'm wearing. I wonder if my hair looks fine, right? So they become preoccupied with the judgment of others. Well, I wonder if this person likes what I'm saying. I wonder if they disagree. And especially if someone makes a face or they're frowning, then you may become preoccupied with that judgment, If you're presenting to a group of seniors or colleagues, you may become preoccupied with what they're thinking, right? With what they're thinking. Ooh, well, if I mess up in this presentation, then they're not going to approve me or approve of me, or they're not going to promote me, or they're not going to want to be on my team. So when we become preoccupied with the judgment of others, that is, what others are thinking of you, how they're judging you, and the impact of that judgment. So colleagues, superiors, you're thinking about, if I mess up in this presentation, how would that impact my career and my relationships? When we're thinking all of those things, we're preoccupied. Does this make sense? Now here is the second one. The second one has to do with being preoccupied with your performance. When you're preoccupied with how well you're performing, am I going to hit all my points? Am I going to be clear? Am I projecting myself as confident? Am I going to forget what I'm about to say? So when you become preoccupied with your performance and you start thinking about how you're performing, that means you are not thinking about the audience. You're not thinking about the content of your presentation. Does this make sense? What does this mean? Well, so there are two areas of preoccupation, two things that can preoccupy us, can really hurt us. One of those has to do with what? It has to do with being preoccupied with the judgment of others. How are they going to judge me? How are they viewing me? And what happens if I mess up, right? What's going to be the impact, the results of that judgment? How am I going to feel? How is it going to impact my career? The second area has to do with being preoccupied with your performance. Am I going to hit all my points? Am I going to speak clearly? Am I going to block? Am I going to mess up? Am I going to lose my mind? I'm going to think, right? Being preoccupied with your performance. So as we said, when we are preoccupied with something other than what we need to be preoccupied with, when we're preoccupied, it distracts us. And when it distracts us, we're not able to be in the moment, and we're not able to flow. We're not able to say what we want to say. We're not able to present as clearly and confidently as we can. We're not able to communicate the genius, the intelligence, the experience that we have when we are preoccupied. So what I'm going to do in the next scope is to share with you a couple of ideas, a couple of strategies to help you stay focused on what you should be focused on, right? And I'll tell you what that is in the next scope. So go ahead, make sure that you follow me, follow me if you're interested, that is, in overcoming a fear of public speaking, or if you're interested in just becoming a better presenter. I also want you to follow me both in Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, because I am in the process of redesigning and designing a very specific course that will be using Periscope to help you, number one, overcome a fear of public speaking using Periscope, to help you also prepare for your presentations, to help you practice your presentations, to help you give your presentations in a way where you're clear, you're confident, you're speaking with authority, you're speaking with authenticity, and you're speaking with accuracy. You don't want to be listening to someone who's lying to you, right? You say, you know what? I know what that person said is not right. Then people lose their trust. You want to speak to someone, or you want to hear someone present to you who's themselves. They're not fake, right? They're authentic. You want to hear someone or be in the presence of someone who's presenting to you that speaks with a sense of authority. They know what they're talking about. It's coming from them. We're going to talk about all those things in this course. We're going to be using Periscope as both a platform and as a practice tool to help you do that. So there are those of you out there who want to use Periscope as a platform, right, to deliver your message. There are those of you out there that don't really care about using Periscope in that way, but may want to use Periscope as a tool to help you prepare for your presentations at work. I'm designing a course to help you do exactly that. And we'll be using my system called the Proactive Presentation System that I've used for many, many years and taught to many, many people around the world, and I'm not exaggerating. And this system will help you present without notes, right? You don't want to have to use notes. You can use notes and you can use slides, but if you're able to present clearly and confidently without notes, then why not? It gives you greater freedom. You'll be able to be more fluent and flexible while you're presenting. So why should you use notes if you don't have to? Why should you use slides if you don't have to? Or if you don't want to? Maybe you want to use slides. This system will also help you present in a very organized way. It will help you internalize your message rather than memorize it. So in other words, when you speak, it'll be coming from you. It'll feel very natural. It'll sound very natural. It'll sound very conversational. Right? So if that's something that you want, if that's something that you're interested in, this course is going to help you do that. But I want you to continue to follow these Periscopes because we're going to be dealing with these various issues of the sources of fear, but also some strategies that you can use to help you prepare and practice and so forth and so on. Thank you very much. This is Michael Williams. I do look forward to seeing you back in the next Periscope. And if you go ahead and you subscribe and you like this, then you'll get a little ping the next time I go live. I'm just playing around with different times and different days. I want to try to be more consistent in the future so that you know when to tune in. So far I've been doing these every day. So go ahead and like this, subscribe to it, and you'll get the ping when I go live. But you can also watch the replay, okay? Once again, this is Michael Williams, and I look forward to serving you and to working with you in the future.